Greetings from Montgomery County. We are glad to be here. Let's pray together. Father, we thank you for this evening, and we ask that you would just touch the lives of each person that's here tonight. We thank you for the freedom to gather and assemble in this free country and in this free state. And we ask that your Spirit would just continue to guide us and lead us in the directions in which we are to live our lives as examples for you, bringing truth and justice and honor to all things that you give to us. We ask that you would bless our time together as we partake of a meal together, as we fellowship, and then, Father, as we come together to learn more about the candidates that you have sent our way. I pray a blessing over our time together in Christ's name. Amen.
We're going to start with the Pledge to the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now to the greatest state in the United States. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, so the candidates have drawn. We welcome your comments. We also would really like to have your prayer that we have wisdom in making this choice. So you all observe that we had a drawing, and they have drawn for positions. So they will each have 4 minutes to make their opening statements. After their opening statements, I'm going to read questions, and they will have 2 minutes to respond to each of those questions. So without ado, I'm going to let them go ahead. Number one.
Gwen, thank you. I appreciate that. My name is Chad Wilbanks, and I'm running to be your chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. A couple of things you ought to know about me first is that I've been married for 27 years to my high school sweetheart. I have 2 kids in college and a 9th grader going to Lake Travis High School out in West Austin. I then moved to Washington, D.C., where I ended up working for the Republican National Committee shortly after being married. We spent 3 years there as a regional political director, but then we decided to come back to Texas because I'm a 7th-generation Texan, and my wife is about to have an 8th-generation Texan. So I was very fortunate that I ended up working for the Republican Party of Texas in 3 different capacities. First as political director, then deputy executive director, and then eventually executive director for the Texas GOP. During my time there, during the 2002 election cycle, we raised over $17 million. We then elected a then record number of Republicans to the Texas House for the first time in our party's history. In 2004, as executive director, we then elected a then record number of congressional members to Congress, a number that still holds today as Texas has more Republican congressmen and women than any other state in the Union. But importantly during that time, because fundraising is a big issue, during my time there, we raised over $1 million for the Republican State Convention for the first time in our party's history. And even more importantly, we left it debt-free. In 2004, I went on my own. I've been in business for over 17 years now, and by the grace of God, we must be doing something right because we're still doing it. A side business that I have is called the GOP Leadership Conference. We've been training legislative staffers on how to think politically in the policy arena for the last 11 Texas legislative sessions. And the idea was we had so many smart political people, but we needed to get them to think politically when the grassroots call, when we want to pass our agenda. And one of the reasons I'm running for chairman today is because we're in the fight for our lives. The Marxist Democrats have started a cultural war against America and Texas. And we must stand up and be ready to fight. We see them go after things like critical hate theory, late-term abortions. They support illegal immigration. They oppose voter ID. They want to defund the police. They want to destroy the heritage and culture of the United States of America. They even want biological males to compete in women's sports. We're in the fight of our lives. And we need somebody with experience and leadership that's run a state party, raised millions of dollars, that's run a state party, won scores of elections at the top of the ballot and down the ballot. And I believe I'm that guy to do it. My name is Chad Wilbanks, and I'm running to be your state chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me here today. My name is Matt Rinaldi, and I'm running to be your next Republican Party chair. You know, I always start with the question, can you think of a year in your life where the choice between Democrats and Republicans in the next election seems so important? I know it's almost cliche to say this is the most important election in our nation's history. But when you look at the gains that Marxist theory and thought has made in every single cultural and political institution in America, you can see what the stakes are. It almost makes you long for the good old days, right? When the difference between Republicans and Democrats was a few percentage points more of taxes if you voted the wrong way. But it's not anymore. It's not. We're fighting a battle for our children, and that's why this election is so important, because we need a strong and unified Republican Party to take us into the 2022 elections. Now, I'm running for Republican Party chair. I have experience in managing entities like the Republican Party of Texas. I'm on the board of directors of a public company with $300 million in market capitalization. I'm also the chief legal officer of a small business with about 300 employees in offices in 3 different cities in Texas. In addition, we need someone who can raise money. I'm a former state representative. I served from 2015 to 2019 in the Texas House of Representatives. I was in Dade Phelan's freshman class, and we came in together. While serving in the House, I was consistently rated among the top 2 or 3 most conservative representatives in the Texas House while I served. And not only that, I was also from a swing district in Dallas, in the suburbs of Dallas. And I won 2 elections in that swing district in the general election, even being one of the most conservative reps. We don't need to sacrifice principles to win elections. Oop, jeez. We can do both. And I'm running for party chair with a unique perspective, and that's the perspective of knowing how the legislature works, knowing how legislative priorities get made into law, knowing each of the personalities involved in driving those legislative priorities to fruition. And I think that's very important, because we can't just have a Republican Party that plays in elections, elects Republicans, and then doesn't make sure that its legislative priorities are moving as they should and the promises that were made are kept. Now, we can do that, and we can do that as a Republican Party. And I think it's very important that we don't neglect that point, because every single candidate, from the top of the ballot down to the judge candidates, has a brand on the ballot, and that brand is the Republican Party brand. And as RPT chair, every statement you make in public, everything you do, everything the SREC does, keeps that brand strong. And in order to be strong in the 2022 elections, we need money, we need organization, we need boots on the ground. But you know what we also need? We also need a strong Republican brand that tells every single person in Texas that this is the party that's going to protect my children from creeping Marxism. This is the party that's going to keep America, America for the future. And I think that's very important. I just want to leave you with this. I was, and how serious this is. I was shopping for preschools for my 3-year-old boy. His name's Rush, too. For my 3-year-old boy, Rush. And, you know, we were deciding between 3 or 4 different schools. 2 of the 3 schools that we were picking didn't sell themselves as anything but a normal preschool. But they taught critical race theory to 3-year-olds, we found out. This is what we're dealing with. And this is why we need to push back, play offense, and have a strong Republican Party to do so. I look forward to talking to you more tonight. Thank you. Bill, I'm going to try to set this up so it doesn't fall on you.
Come on, you break it.
I think I did. Can you do that? I swear I didn't touch it.
He did. He did it on purpose, right, man? That's fine. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bill Burch, and I'm running to be your Republican Party of Texas chairman. I am a veteran I served in the United States Army. I was part of the Army Security Agency. In other words, I was in intelligence. And I am a disabled veteran. I was disabled while I was on temporary duty to the Central Intelligence Agency on a clandestine mission in Thailand. And so I have served my country. I have put my life on the line because I care. I absolutely care. I have been involved with the Republican Party for some 46 years. My wife served on the SREC for 8 years. I have a letter saying that I was largely responsible for Steve Munisteri being elected as the chairman of the Republican Party. At that point in time, the party finances were upside down. We owed $700,000 and we had $300,000. I grabbed Steve's hand and said, "Steve, let's go." We went over and met with T. Boone Pickens in Dallas. We went out to West Texas, meet with Clady Williams and some of the others. Went down south and met with Dick Weekley and some others. Steve raised the money. I made the introductions. And he saved the Republican Party of Texas, because we would have been bankrupt that September and we would not have a party today were it not for my friend Steve Munisteri. We've gone over the numbers, and the numbers are that this party has 4 to 6 months at its current burn rate before we're out of money. We may not have a convention. I went out and I got the convention for Houston several years ago, whenever Tina Benkaiser was chairman, at no cost to the Republican Party. Third party added $150,000 to it. I was upset. I went out at the convention, one of the conventions in San Antonio. They were charging $160 a night for the Marriott. I got the rooms for $80 at the Minger. In Dallas, they had a convention whenever Steve ran. I told Kathy Adams, I said, you got to get the money back. They were charging $100 extra a night. I said, you got to get the money back. She came back and said, "Bill, I can only get $10. I rented the Adolphus and the Magnolia for less money to the delegates than what the party was renting the Holiday Inn for. I care about the people in this party. I have friends that I can call up, multimillionaires that have already told me that they will put together groups of other multimillionaires for me to meet with and raise money. I intend to raise $38 million for this party. And I intend to work from the bottom up. We need to start working with our judges, our county people, so that, because if we get them elected in large numbers, it goes up. We will have even more numbers for the governor. And we need that. I do not attack my fellow Republicans. Will not do it. I have worked with some Republicans that I absolutely disagreed with in order to get legislation passed. I did that because the important thing is not, if you're going to fight with somebody, do it behind closed doors, not in front of the public. You compliment them in front of the public. You go behind closed doors to talk about the other things. Because if you compliment them in public, and whenever it comes time to get your issues resolved, they will work with you at that point in time if you haven't run the deal. It's a wrap. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you.
Well, good evening, Spindletop Republican women, and good evening to those Texans that are watching online. My name is David Covey, and I am running to be your next Republican Party of Texas chairman. Texas needs a strong Republican Party to fight the socialist, leftist, anti-American agenda of President Biden, who in the shortest amount of time has become the worst president that America has ever seen. And Texas needs a strong Republican Party to build the grassroots and build the structure of our party so that we can continue to pass conservative legislation that the delegates of Texas Texas have passed. And that is why I am running. I am a native Texan. I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative. And I believe that the Republican Party is the best vehicle we have to advance our values and continue to protect the freedom of Texas. I grew up here in southeast Texas. I am the second born of 8 children. My mom is a teacher. My dad is an engineer. From a young age, I began participating in local politics. On election day, we would come out early and put out election signs. And then later in the day, we would bring those cold water bottles to those that were sitting at the polls. And I learned the importance of those who work on election day. From a volunteer, I became a precinct chair. And I learned the importance of organizing your precinct. And from precinct, I became county chair. And I learned that at the county level, you have to administer your primary election. I currently am on the SREC, the State Republican Executive Committee. And I've been elected as president of the Texas Republican County Chairman Association, where I've been traveling the state for the last year listening to the Republican county chairs across the state to hear what they need, what resources they will be needing in this election. Things like a first movers list so we can contact those people that are moving into our county and get them registered to vote. Things like clear talking points so we can have a communication and a message. You know, Democrats are on the same page by 7 a.m. in the morning, and it takes Republicans till 7 p.m. to get on the same page. We need to have a unifying and a clear message. I have served as Senate District Caucus Chair, and in presidential years as Congressional District Caucus Chair. I've served at State Convention as Chairman of the Nominations Committee, and in 2016 was a delegate to the National Convention where we selected Donald J. Trump as President. Professionally, I have worked in the Texas Senate and have worked on over 100 pieces of legislation where I learned the legislative process and how to get our legislation passed. I do have a law degree. I don't practice law. I'm an oil and gas consultant and manage a territory worth multi-millions of dollars. And fundraising is going to be one of the most important jobs of the next chairman. We have to go in with clear, specific steps to our donors so that we can have a plan to present them and bring our donors back to the table. Folks, I'm the candidate that was there this legislative session fighting for election integrity. I stayed until 3 a.m. and testified on House Bill 6, of the election integrity bill. It became House Bill 7. And I'm the one that worked on constitutional carry. I was there working on religious liberty legislation so that churches were regarded as essential business. Folks, I've been there. I'm the current candidate. I am here. I'm not a celebrity. I'm a worker, and I'm here to work for you. You can learn more at my website at coveyforrpt.com. God bless you. I look forward to speaking with you more and earning your support.
Well, we certainly have 4 outstanding candidates. So, I'm going to combine this question. Remember, they're coming in from folks out of the room here. You probably already answered this. Why do you want to be chairman? In your opinion, what is the role of the chairman? What are the goals for the RPT under your leadership? How much time will you be able to commit to the position? What are your professional family obligations which might limit the amount of time you can devote to the position? And how long do you plan to serve as chairman? One at a time? No, all together.
How many hours do we have?
2 minutes.
2 hours?
First question, right?
Wait, we have to go in reverse order.
I thought we were going the same order. Now it's reverse order?
Reverse order. So whoever was number 4, David. So David will go first, and whoever was number 3. So reverse order. Mr. Burch. David, Bill.
Good luck.
We ready? All right. Well, I think the question was, why do you want to serve as chair? And when we come here, I first want to say that I appreciate all of the gentlemen who are qualified and who are running for this office and putting themselves forward. It's not easy. And my hope is that if I were fortunate enough to win, to bring around their experience into my administration and work together to unify the party. When we look at the qualifications for chair, we have to look at someone who knows the job, who knows the nuts and bolts of it. And so you look at the qualifications. And so you may have a legislator, and there may be one candidate who's the best positioned to be a legislator. There may be one who's best positioned to raise funds or be a lobbyist. But when we come to the position of chair, who has done the job of chairman? Who has seen the party from all the different perspectives and knows how to build it? There are three things we need to do. We need to fundraise because we've got to have the organizational funds to operate the party and have boots on the ground. We've got to have the funds for convention. We've got to have the funds to support and get our candidates elected. Besides fundraising, we also have to train. And so we have to train our grassroots activists so that they stay engaged. We also have to train our county chairs so they can run their primary elections. The last thing a county chair wants is the responsibility of messing something up and then finding themselves in legal trouble. We also need to train our precinct chairs. Besides fundraising and training, we need to educate. We need to spread our values and spread our mission to those around us in our community and equip our people so that they can spread the message that Republican values and conservative values are best for you, they're best for your children, and they will keep Texas free.
Before I get started, you realize I'm 69 and I've got to remember all that? I mean, I'm going to be good with the first part. Just kind of give a broad perspective. Don't start that timer yet. Now, stop that. Well, you know, that happens. My wife says that all the time. You know. I thought it'd be the other way around, but you know how it is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have, like I say, I've been involved in the party for 46 years. It takes a long time to develop the friendship with people that you can pick up the phone with that are multimillionaires and call them up. I called one up, cell phone. He's on the beach surfing in the Fiji Islands and says, "Yeah, Bill, what you need?" Well, it takes a while to do that. You don't just pick up the phone and do that unless you don't even have the phone number. But I've got the phone number for these people. I've met with them, been to their homes and what have you. So I'll raise the money. We'll get the money. The problem that I see in the party, and I've talked to past chairmen about this, the problem is whenever they start off, they have a learning curve to go through. And I see that, and it's very harmful to the party. And you develop factions that fight against each other, and we don't need any of that. So what I want to do is put in a mentoring program to mentor future state party chairmen. The ones that are interested, take them out. Say, "Here, this is Joe Blow. I want you to meet him. Go to one of these meetings where we have multiple very wealthy donors so that they know how to do it." I've done conventions. I had set up a convention that I was about to do for real estate investors where I had $10 million in booth sales. And I don't want to sell anything to the candidate, to the office holders. I don't want their money. I can get the money. I want them to work in their campaigns. And if we go to a campaign, to an office holder, and we say, "Hey, here's $100,000. Whenever it comes legislative time, I say, "Hey, we need this done." They're going to listen to us. That's the way it's done. The lobbyists have them work for us, not us for them. Oh, it's a wrap. You know, this is kind of like on a TV show. It's a wrap, right? Well, we're done. We appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm picking out which one of those questions to answer. But as chair, what you need is you need somebody who can handle not only the aspects of the organization and the administrative aspects, but you're also somebody with communication skills and the fortitude to push our legislative priorities very adeptly through the legislature. I'm a manager. I've managed businesses before, both public and private, with hundreds of employees. I have years of managerial experience. I have legal experience as well. I've managed large trial teams that have handled complex securities class actions with hundreds of millions of dollars in controversy. You need somebody who's a grassroots organizer. I was in the legislature for 4 years. As I said, I've won elections in one of the hardest districts for Republicans to win elections in of all the legislative districts in Texas. We were a swing district, and I was a conservative. And we organized grassroots volunteers to walk tens of thousands of doors each election. And I myself, over the course of 3 elections, block walked over 20,000 houses myself. I've been a grassroots organizer. My first Republican convention was in 1994 in Connecticut, where I lived at the time, and I remember it was 94, 92. I was the only Republican supporting Phil Gramm for president in Connecticut, so that was my claim to fame there, and then I moved to Texas, where everyone loves Phil. I've been a precinct chair. I've participated in Senate district conventions. I've been a committee chair at a Senate district convention. I have experience in the Republican Party and organizing. Very importantly and uniquely, I have experience as a legislator. And it's one thing to testify at committee hearings and be aware of the process. It's another thing to be specifically and intimately aware of the personalities involved. And have the trust of legislators so that they can tell you where the roadblocks are in Republican Party legislation so that the RPT can help to clear those roadblocks. So thank you very much, and I look forward to answering your next question.
Well, as chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, the job is treated like a CEO of an organization. The RPT may be a campaign organization, but you need to treat it like a small business. So what the chairman's role is to work in collaboration with the board of directors, the SRAC, to come up with a mission, objective, goals, and accountability. You hire the A team to be your staff to implement those goals and objectives. The chairman's job is not to run the day-to-day operations. The chairman's job is to go out and raise money and rally the troops across the entire state and assure that staff is doing the job you put them out to do. Now, we can all talk about things we've done, but we've got to talk about our vision for the party. This is no laughing matter we're facing right now. In 2022, we have the chance in a once-in-a-lifetime generation to annihilate the Marxist Democrats up and down the ballot. And just 6 short months away, the filing deadline for the Texas GOP and candidates across the state is on board. We've got to be ready. We've got to be prepared. In May of next year, we'll have school board candidates up across the state. If we identify and put Republicans on the ballot, we will win and our kids will be protected. It's not critical race theory, it's critical hate theory, because that's what they're trying to instill in our kids. And so we must be prepared to lead. And if I'm elected your chairman, I know the job. I spent 8 years at party committees, 6 of those in executive roles. I know what needs to be done. I know what needs to be a leader. I've run my business for 17 years, and again, we're being successful. And we have the capability at this time, as I'm based in Austin, to be right there by the party to get the job done and have hands-on experience day to day with the staff when we need it. But I tell you, the focus right now, if we want to win and be successful, we've got to have a leader that has experience at party committees and knows how to raise money. And I'm Chad Wilbanks, and I'll be your best chairman that you have. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to be a little easier on you guys this next time. Very simple little question. They would like to know what your plan is for growing and supporting the county parties. We're still going in the same order that we just went last time. So number 4 is going first. That's you. Yeah.
Every question?
Yeah. So we're going to do every question that's up. It's too confusing otherwise.
The moderator is saying I need to go first every question, and so I will not disagree. How do we grow the county parties? That is a very important question. As president of the Republican County Chairman Association, I've been traveling. I've gone down to Laredo, to Dallas, around the state, Central Texas, and met, and I have relationships with the county chairs around the state. They are eager to bring people to the table, but they need training and they need resources. And so we need to implement the Purple 10 plan, which is to identify the top 10 counties which we can flip that are right on the verge of red and blue, and ensure that we can turn them red by putting boots on the ground and putting a strategy in place in those counties, supporting the county chairs and supporting the SREC and supporting the precinct chairs so that we can win races. You know, last election, we lost 12 House seats. And so not only do we need to protect the seats that we only won by 1 or 2%, like House District 108 or 112, but we need to make sure that we go back after those 12 districts that we lost and work intimately with their county parties so that we can get the job done. And so one of the things that I'll tell you, if we're having a strategy that works with these counties, is first and foremost, we need to listen to the counties. And not be a top-down organization, but be a bottom-up organization that listens for what they're asking for and then gives the support to the counties so that they can make it happen. Thank you.
Most exercise I've had in a week. Okay, y'all ready? All right, here we go. Okay, I was a precinct chair. At one time, I took over a precinct that was 56% Democrat, had never had a Republican precinct chairman. By the third election, it was 56% Republican, and the Democrats couldn't get a precinct chairman because I converted them all. We had precinct meetings where we got to the point to where we sent 29 delegates out of that Senate district to the state convention. 29 out of one precinct. As area leader, I was able to put in 40 precinct chairmen in Tarrant County. 40 precinct chairmen. I know how to recruit them. We have 8 counties right now in the state of Texas that do not have a Republican county chairman. Forget about precinct chairman. They don't have a county chairman. What you have to do is call people up and ask them to become part of it. They're waiting for the call. Just call them up. I wrote a book, small book, not large, few pages, maybe 12 pages, on how to run a precinct. And people have used that and followed it. How to go out to Kroger and have them donate food for a meeting that you have. We had a meeting once a month with 100 people in my precinct. We had congressmen, state reps, everybody else come by to see our precinct because it was that phenomenal. Can we do it? I am famous for converting Democrats. I converted the Dallas County chairman, Joe Devaney, many years ago, to become a Republican. He went on to become a Republican judge. Billy Clayton was Speaker of the House as a Democrat. I converted him to a Republican, and he ran for governor as a Republican. And I have 2 congressmen right now that are Democrats that, if I'm elected, they will convert. And that, along with CD6, is 5. That means we're even up in the Congress, and we kick Pelosi out. Thank you very much.
How do we grow the party on a county level? Well, first of all, when I become chairman, I'm going to meet with the counties that are closest to flipping Democrat to Republican and the county chairs from those counties and figure out their needs and provide those boots on the ground and data resources and other resources that those counties need. But as far as county focus goes, I don't only want to focus on the closest counties necessarily. We do need to focus on the closest counties, but we don't need to only focus on the closest counties, because there's one very important thing that happened last election, in that Donald Trump has changed the entire face of the Valley and our ability to mine that area of the state for new voters. And I want to meet with the county chairs of Cameron County and the border counties as well to figure out how we can best reach those new voters, reach those voters who voted for Donald Trump. For example, there were 2 state house districts in Texas that have been held by Democrats that Hillary Clinton won with over 60% of the vote. And those 2 districts voted for Donald Trump in the past election. There are thousands of new voters that county chairs have never even knew they were there. And they may have voted for a Democrat, and they did vote for a Democrat, at least some of them did, for state rep. So the question is, how do we reach those voters? How do we change those voters to Republican voters? And we do it by IDing who they are and talking to them, going to their house, showing up at their front door, and telling them what the Republican Party's about and our candidates. And that's really what it is. At a simple level, we're raising money, we're reaching voters, but in the end, it's going to be those personal interactions that grows the party. And we need to work with the county chairs in those counties to figure out how best to do that, to reach those end conversations at their doorstep that eventually bring them into us and keep them there for a while.
Well, to grow a county party, you have to have money, grassroots, and determination. And you have to have a plan. So you build out your plan on how you want to help the counties. You know, back in 2002, when I talked about when I was a deputy executive director and political director, it was the first time in our party's history we had 254 county chairmen running a GOP primary. We set the standard then, and it's not easy. You have a lot of rural counties, you have some southern border counties, but you can find them. It takes money to do that. It takes a field team you put out in place to help find those people and talk to them and ask them. One of the great things that we did in 2002 for that election cycle, we also created a county incentive program where we asked counties to identify a number of voters. If you hit your primary goals, we'll give you some more money. If you reach your certain target goals we put out there to grow the party. Now, we're in a real fight for our lives I've talked about before. And I don't think we should surrender playing the urban counties. We ought to treat it like old wildcatters back in the day. If they see land, we're going to drill and we're going to prosper. We need to be the same way as we focus on those urban counties and never surrender. We ought to make it a priority to grow Dallas back, Harris County back, Bexar County back, Travis County back. But we can't rest on our laurels and assume that the rural counties protected us in 2018. Now, in 2020, we had a good election. 2018 is when we lost all those seats. Not only did we lose 12 House seats, we lost 30 out of 31 district judges. And all we did in 2020 is we held the line, didn't lose anything. But we got to do better. So if you look at places like Wichita, Tom Green, Taylor counties, rural counties, if you look closely enough, the margin that the Democrats are encroaching is alarming. They think they're safe in the urban counties, and they're coming after us in the rural counties. So we have to put together a plan and county incentives to grow our party. We've got to have a unified message, and we've got to fundraise. Thank you.
Okay, I'm getting feedback that we need to let number 2 go first, this next question, and then it'll be 3, 4, and 1. So we're wanting to be fair. So if y'all can keep that straight, I would appreciate it, because I'm not sure I can. All right, next question. The SREC bylaws prohibit the use of party resources, funds in intra-party elections, the primaries. Have you personally made endorsements, or will you make endorsements for any statewide elected positions? Once elected, will you pledge to remain neutral in all intra-party races? If not, in what circumstances would you foresee making an endorsement or getting involved in a primary race? Good, you knew what to do.
Question is, Have you made any endorsements, and how would you treat that in the future? Yes, I have. Like many political people in a primary season, I've made endorsements for statewide office. Should I be elected chair? It would be my general policy not to. The Republican Party of Texas chair needs to maintain neutrality, I think, in party elections while he's chair, and work for the betterment of the party. So even in races where I endorsed before becoming chair, I want to get everybody together for the better of the party, and work together for the 2022 election, because we just can't sacrifice that, and we have to be unified. As far as going forward, is there any circumstance in which you would endorse? Yes, but it would be rare and extraordinary. There are some candidates, for example, one Republican candidate for school board who was in a runoff wears a jester hat around to different events and has disparaged Donald Trump and other elected officials of the Republican Party, so I would have no problem endorsing against him in a primary. Absent a rare case like that, no. We need to be unified for 2020. We need a party that remains unified, and I would work towards that as well.
Okay. In the past, I've worked with people throughout the party in getting them elected. 1 year, as the chairman of the Grassroots Institute of Texas, 1 year, we had 18 Republican state reps elected. We had 22, 18 were through the Grassroots Institute of Texas. So we were very strong in a lot of these areas, and I know how to do that. Do I have people running against each other as friends? I had 4 people running for President of the United States. My wife looked at me and I said, you know, maybe it's time that we cut back a little bit. We know too many. Because Jeb Bush, I know Jeb Bush, I was his dad's insurance agent. I met his dad whenever I was in intelligence and he was ambassador to the UN. Donald J. Trump. My brother worked for Donald J. Trump, helping to renovate Mar-a-Lago. Perry talked to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made me a public director of the State Bar of Texas and made my wife a Texas Fire Commissioner. Ted Cruz, one of the very first people to ever endorse Ted Cruz was my wife and I when he was wanting to run for Attorney General. So, and they ended up running. And you had Kay Bailey Hutchinson. Years ago, Kay Bailey Hutchinson and I were sitting together in Jim Collins' training camp where he was training candidates. And we were throwing wads of paper at some Senate candidates just for fun. And Kay Bailey, of course, married Ray Hutchinson, became Kay Bailey Hutchinson. So she ran against Rick Perry. And, you had David Dewhurst. We used to bring in leaders from throughout the state. We brought in the Tea Parties to meet with Dewhurst. We brought in the Hispanic groups to meet with Dewhurst. And that's a wrap. Wow. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
The county chair should not be endorsing in a primary election. And as a county chair and having behaved that way for years now, I have not done that and would continue that policy in the future. We need someone who can bring people together. And Reagan said, if you don't care who gets the credit, there's no limit to the amount that you can get done. And what I've found over the years in working in campaigns and political circles is that people who are at one point my enemy are at the next moment my closest ally. And so if we will treat people with respect, and if we will understand that we all have a different perspective, but 80 to 90% of the time, we agree. We love our state. We love limited government because it gives the people the choices. We are all working to make sure that we are a pro-life state from conception until natural death. We are all trying to work for the Second Amendment and to advance and make sure there is things like constitutional carry that was passed this session. We all want to end child abuse, which is called child gender modification, which is an atrocity that it's allowed in the state of Texas. If we don't care who gets the credit, and if we'll come together, the outcome of what we can do will be greater than what we do as individual parts. And on that note, I'd like to take my last 30 seconds. I just received some very sad news that one of the great Texas patriots and liberty-loving Texans that we know, Jeff LeBlanc, just passed. And we just got that news. And so he's from Liberty County. He's a great Texan. Many here know him tonight. And if we could just take a moment of silence for him.
Well, certainly our prayers go out to Jeff's family. It's a tough situation. Thanks for bringing that up, David. I believe the question, Gwen, was, should the state party chairman endorse in an inter-party contest? Well, the answer is no. The bylaws prohibit it. And so, as Republicans, our job is to allow Republicans to fight it out in a primary. We believe in competition. Competition makes our candidates stronger at the end of the day. The role of the Texas GOP is to elect candidates up and down the ballot, not get involved in those inter-party contests. Now, certainly, as Matt pointed out, there are circumstances where you feel it warranted, but it's not a unilateral decision for the chairman to make. That convenes a call with SRAC members, the board of directors, to talk through it. And if the SRAC votes to approve, in a rare circumstance, to get engaged in an inter-party contest in a Republican primary, then we'll hash that argument out. And if they vote in favor of it, then Texas GOP can come out in supporting that candidate, or they may vote it down. But the chairman doesn't have sole authority to endorse an inter-party contest. Thank you.
Okay, so this is going to be another one of those several parters.
Which person first? Number 3.
Number 3.
You just had to say that with a multi-part.
Well, that's a good thing to go first.
Well, yeah, because I can remember it.
So, all of you have stated on various occasions that you can raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for the state of Texas Republican Party. Why have you not done so in the last 2 years? Or what have you done to support the party in the past 2 years? The last part of that question, if you are not elected as the chairman, will you pledge to continue to work for the party and share your time and talent and expertise? I really like the way that was written. With the man who does win the election. Did you get all that? Do I need to do it again?
No, we'll wing it. Yeah, 3, 4, 1, 2. You're going to be up here sooner or later. I mean, anytime you want. Okay. Well, we got an interesting question there. The reality is, most of the people that I know with as far as fundraising, they will contribute if I'm involved in it. They're not going to contribute otherwise, other than to some candidates, which they have done. And it's hard to get them to contribute directly to the party. They contribute more where they have influence, which is primarily with the candidates, directly to the candidates. It's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do about it. As far as being involved. I've been involved with the party for 46 years. I've contacted and talked to party leaders and have on a regular basis for 46 years. So I'm not young. I'm 69 years old. Geez, I'm surprised. But, you know, it's kind of like one time I was on stage with a fellow by the name of Ronald Reagan. And he once said that, you know, we're not going to make age an issue. I'm not going to hold the youth and inexperience of my fellow candidates against them. He did say that, and I was on stage with him. That was Martha Wisen was his campaign chairman back then. She's for Texas, and she was a great person, a good friend of mine out of Dallas. So I've been there, done that, worked as hard as I could for everybody in the party, created a lot of opportunities, and I continue to do that. It's just part of what my wife and I do, and we've always done it. Thank you very much. We're having problems with numbers, aren't we?
I never know which number it is, Bill. You might have to keep track for me here.
Well, we'll have to get one of the others out there.
We'll figure it out.
We need help on some of that.
Part of the job as the Orange County chairman has been to raise funds, and I'm fortunate to have a lot of my Orange County people here. One of the things that we did so successfully was we came together and we worked and put on our Reagan-Trump dinner. And we were able to bring in speakers and have funds come in, which allowed us to open the first headquarters office, which we've had in years. I'm fortunate to have two former county chair from Orange County sitting over here. They've seen the path of how Orange County has grown as we've worked together. We've gotten involved in the community. That's what we need to do. And so I've done that. But to grow the party on the state level, we need to have specific plans. And so one of the things that I would do is I would instruct the staff to provide me a list of donors who have provided or given $500 or more in the last 4 years. And I would call them individually and share our vision as a party and share what we can do and then ask for their support. I would also hire a finance director. I would rejuvenate the grassroots club. I would begin a chairman's circle, and I would make sure that we have a legacy donor program so that those who are longtime donors feel like they are noticed and honored for their work and what they have done for the state of Texas. You've got to go in with a plan. You've got to have specifics. One of the ways you can attract the donors is to show the specific value of what they are donating. So as TRCCA president, I worked with the TFRW and Steve Monastery on the VEP program. We were able to register 212,000 new Republican voters for $1.6 million, which roughly came out to $7.90 per new voter. If you can go to donors and you can say for $7.90 you can get a new Republican voter registered, they will bring the money in. Give the specifics, show them the plan, and that is what will bring the funds in to grow our party. Thank you.
Question is, you say you could raise money before. Why haven't you in the past? I have. I had 2 election campaigns in the state of Texas for my legislative campaign. I raised close to $1 million in the 2016 election cycle and about $1 million in the 2018 election cycle. And on the day I get elected chair, I'm going to go down a list of not only the RPT donors who have donated $10,000 or more, but also my donors who have donated $10,000 or more. And I'm going to begin setting up meetings and making calls to bring those donations in again to the Republican Party because we are in the fight of our lives. I think it's very important to do that and to have a plan. And I think in addition to the small donations that we're getting through email blasts, through alumni clubs, through different means, we need to get those large donations in order to have a successful session. Also, when I'm talking to each of those donors, I'm going to see if there's any corporate donations as well that can come in to help us with our convention, which is also very important. We need to raise at least $1 million for our convention next year, and that needs to start immediately. It needs to start immediately when we start fundraising. We need to start fundraising for the convention. I don't doubt that my colleagues are going to hit the ground running on fundraising as well. I just think we need somebody who has a proven record of raising large amounts of money to be RPT chair so they can do it again for the good of the party in 2022. Thank you.
Now, I think the question was, each of the candidates are promising to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars for the party. Why haven't you? Well, I have. Ever since I left the party in 2004, I've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Texas GOP. I've been proud of doing so. So when the race for chairman opened up, I had elected officials reach out to me, had some SRC members reach out to me, and I had some major donors reach out to me. And they did so with the thought that I could unify the party and raise millions of dollars. And the first thing we have to do is raise money for the state convention. It is a priority. But see, there's different buckets of raising money at the end of the day. You have your corporate bucket. Your corporate bucket pays for convention. It pays for office space. It pays for administrative staff. It pays for trainings. It pays for voter ID. Then you have your federal bucket. And federal dollars are very, very precious because there's contribution limits associated with it. And so your federal dollars go towards elections to win for Republicans. And then you have your small dollars that come in. That bucket goes towards essentially elections as well, but more on a local level. And you have to have a fine balance between all these three. The federal dollars, which are precious, the small dollars that come in from grassroots, and the corporate dollars which pay for trainings and convention and administrative expenses. But you can take part of those corporate dollars as well and can use it for some of your legislative priorities. Let's hire a bunch of conservative attorneys to scrub our bills, our legislative priorities, to make sure there are no mistakes in it. Democrats are already doing this. Why are we behind on the ball? Let's raise a special fund to do this. It's important to have somebody that has experience raising money, who's done it before for a number of years, has continued to do it. Now, that fundraising did drop off a little bit with our recent chairman. Now, I promise you right now, everybody in this room, I bet we agree on 95% of the issues and the way campaigns are run. But words matter, tactics matter. And that's why I saw some excitement from some major donors and electeds and SRC members wanting to raise money again and bring the party back on board. Thank you.
Well, y'all are doing an absolutely great job. You're even doing well on keeping up with the order, which I have already lost track of. I can see right now I should have appointed someone to keep up with the order. So anyway, we will continue, and hopefully y'all know which order to go in. All right, the next question. Are you or have you ever worked for a taxpayer-funded lobbyist or a non-taxpayer-funded lobbyist? Do you support the legislative priorities of eliminating taxpayer-funded lobbyists? And how can we get this priority passed?
Wait a minute, you're number 4?
I'm number 4. Okay, Bill's checking me out, y'all.
4, 1, 2, 3, right?
I have never worked for a lobbyist organization. And don't intend to. Let me say this. I did receive a note that I have 4 former county chairmen from Orange County. I got 2 more in the back over here. So good turnout from Orange County on this. Yes, I do support the legislative priorities of the party. And I will continue to work vigorously to pass those. We need to make sure that we hire someone who is grassroots. I am the grassroots candidate for your Texas Republican Party chairman. I've come up through the ranks. I have worked at the different levels of the party. I have no allegiance to lobbyists. I have no allegiance to legislators. I am committed to the Republican Party of Texas and working solely to pass our priorities, to grow our party, and to make sure that we are stronger than we ever have been before. Thank you.
Sure? Yeah. 4-1. 4-1-2. See, even the young guys get mixed up.
Well, that question is actually directed at me. I'm a lobbyist. I have been for 4 years, been in business for 17, and I actually represented a taxpayer-funded unit, Galveston County's Commissioners Court. And they are the most conservative Commissioners Court in the state of Texas. So when the county judge called me and asked me to help them out on some conservative bills, I did. Y'all may not know that the Galveston County Commissioners Court has cut taxes for 10 consecutive years. And just today, the judge had a news conference saying they're going to take part of Biden's COVID money and give it to fund the wall. Conservatives need help too. And so when they hired me, we worked in the 86th Texas legislature, and we're the only county in the state of Texas that supported Senate Bill 2, which put a limit on the property tax rate. We argued it didn't go far enough. And what I heard this session were people complaining why their taxes went up, because the rate set but not appraisal reform is what we need. We also pushed for uniform work hours. That means when taxpayers go to the county courthouse, there's somebody there working. And it was such a conservative bill that the current House Freedom Caucus chairman carried it for us. So yes, I worked as a lobbyist to pass conservative legislation. It is wildly inappropriate for these liberal cities to hire lobbyists to work against ratepayers. That's not what I did. And so the lies being told out there about me being a taxpayer-funded lobbyist are complete bull. We've worked hard to support conservative causes my entire life. I have worked to grow the party, the Republican Party, my entire life. I've worked to fundraise for the Republican Party of Texas. You know, we have a constitutional right for redress against our government. And I treat that same authority that they give me, the Constitution gives us, the way I do my clients. We play to win, we play to be successful, and I'll never apologize for fighting for the conservative cause, no matter which entity it is I work for. Thank you.
I've never worked as a lobbyist, taxpayer funded or otherwise, and I don't intend to ever. I support the Republican Party's ban on Republican Party priority that we ban taxpayer-funded lobbying in the state of Texas. In fact, I co-authored the bill when I was in the legislature. That's very important. Our legislative priorities are very important to me. What the SREC and the convention delegates determine are going to be our legislative priorities. It's important to have a Republican chairman that is going to do everything in their power to fight for those priorities. And that's what I intend to do. You know, it's easy to say you're going to fight for priorities, but what do you do when the elected officials, statewide elected officials, tell you to back off of priorities like taxpayer-funded lobbying? We're not going to pass that this session. Stop talking about it. Who here has demonstrated in the past that they will fight and continue to fight even when House leadership, Senate leadership, or statewide officials tell you to stop? I have, and I've done it in the past. And I did it with the landmark Sanctuary City Bill in 2017. The Sanctuary City Bill came to the Texas House very, very watered down. I rewrote the operative provisions of the bill, and together myself and Representative Schaefer got the bill amended on the House floor to be the strongest in the nation. And we were told by statewide officials, by the Speaker of the House, to back off. And we didn't. And because we fought through it, we got results on that legislative priority. We have several legislative priorities that the legislature has ignored, that statewide officials told people to back off, that they've told the bill authors to back off. We need a Republican Party chair who isn't going to back off. You need a Republican Party chair who's very tactfully, very strategically going to apply friction to help get these legislative priorities over the finish line. And I can do it, and I've proven that I've done it before. Thank you.
I'm going to be in good shape after all this. Need that exercise. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, hey, I'm 69 years old. I've been working at Party 46 years. The things that I've done are amazing. My wife and I, we went down to meet with Teresa Spears. I don't know if y'all know her, but she was the primary advisor to Rick Perry. And we sat, and Louis Sines was there. He's now the He's the chief of staff for Governor Perry. Well, for Governor Abbott. He was campaign manager for Perry at the time. And we sit down with Teresa and we said, "Hey, Teresa, we've got an issue for you." And she said, "What is it?" And I said, "It's illegal aliens." She said, "You think people really care about that?" I said, "Trust me on this." And we explained to her why the illegal alien issue would be important. Shortly thereafter, Governor Perry came out with the linebacker program. Another issue. Y'all remember the Trans-Texas Corridor? Well, Linda Harper Brown calls up my wife and says, "Hey, we need to stop this." She goes out, talks to several of the legislators. Even though Perry, who was our friend, was for it, she arranged to get the votes to kill the Trans-Texas Corridor. And that's who did it. I didn't do it. Now, she did that. We've worked. I'll give you an easy one. How about the puppy mill bill? Well, T. Boone Pickens and his wife were talking to me, and they said, "Hey, we got to get this deal passed. We can't get it passed." I said, "Easy." I went over. I had Jean McIver, who was the chief of staff for Ron Paul at one time, retired, and she went into livestock to get it on the platform. Couldn't do it. I got it onto the platform through American Families. They said, "Hey, what's this got to do with American Families?" I said, "Have you ever had a dog?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Did it die?" "Okay, it's on the platform." And then we did the same thing with the Democrats. We went in, told the legislators, "It's on the platform," and we got it passed. Thank you.
Okay, some concerned audience members gave me the count for next time. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So, this is actually the last question, and after that we'll have our wrap-up. So, the last question. Before I read this question, I want to give a little shout-out. If you haven't signed up for the Legislative Priority Stat Report, STAT, please go to the Republican website and sign up for that, because we're going to be in a legislative session here on July the 8th, and we've got to fight for these legislative priorities. We have a substantial majority in the state Senate, state House, yet we cannot get the legislatures to pass hardly any of the state Republican Party legislative priorities, as voted on by the vast majority of the voting constituents. What are your plans to correct this egregious situation and hold the state legislatures accountable for their non-support of the traditional conservative values of the Texas Republican Party?
Well, the role of the Republican Party of Texas is to elect candidates. And the Board of Directors have come up with a decision to have a Legislative Priorities Committee to advance the conservative goals of the Republican Party of Texas. Now, you heard me say last go-round that I'm a lobbyist. I actually think it benefits having a chairman who serves in a governmental relations capacity to pass the priority bills that you want. We can all talk about how sausage is being made, and we miss out on some of the deals in the back room that we don't have access to. But one of the ways we pass our legislative priorities is we elect more Republicans. You know, we had 2/3 in the Senate just a few short years ago. In 2009, we had 101 Republicans serve in the Texas House. We had 2/3 there, too. Our job is to elect Republicans. And we get to legislative session, we continue to fundraise because they can't. We grow a party, we have our dinners, and we talk with legislators individually about our goals, of what the grassroots are saying. And part of it is say, well, this is one of our legislative priorities. What's one of your priorities? And how can we help you pass your priority? Because we'd like for you to pass ours too. That's in Dallas. It's in Houston. It's here. It's in Austin. You have to work with legislators in order to be successful. You can't be bullies. Nobody likes a bully. What we want. and we have to make sure that we have conservative attorneys scrubbing our bills. I hear a lot of complaints about some legislators that they don't like our priorities. Well, that's not really true, because what's happening is we're relying on young staffers, relying on legislative counsel that purposely mess up some of our bills out there so that Democrats can call points of order on it. So we've got to fundraise and bring some of these Texas legislative attorneys on board to scrub our bills and protect our priorities. It's not good enough to blame Republicans and Republican majority not passing stuff. We've got to work with them to be successful, to grow a party, and that way we pass more priorities. Thank you.
Okay, that's probably the first answer I've disagreed with during this whole debate. No. The mission of the Republican Party is to promote conservative principles and provide the infrastructure whereby that happens. And obviously that involves electing Republicans. That involves having great elections in 2022 and beyond. But it doesn't stop there, is my point. And we don't get our legislative priorities passed simply by electing other Republicans. There's another step there. And we can't ignore that step. Because I've been in the legislature. I know if there wasn't pressure from the outside, from the grassroots, from you guys, the precinct chairs up, they would not pass any of the legislative priorities. Let me give you an example. The Republican caucus this year had a chairman's election. And the platform of Matt Krause, Representative Matt Krause, was, hey guys, maybe we should come up with some legislative priorities as a Republican caucus in the legislature. Did you know he lost the election? That was over that issue. The Republican caucus voted not to have legislative priorities. And these are well-meaning representatives. I'm not trying to implicate them alone, but the system and the way it's designed are designed towards the status quo. And nothing gets done without some outside friction. That can come from the inside, too, with people like the Freedom Caucus and other conservatives providing that as well. But the RPT can provide that also. Now, I'm not talking about conflict. I'm talking about friction. By speaking the truth, by updating the public and the precinct chairs and the SREC on the status of these priorities, the roadblocks, and what's actually happening, the truth can help us pass these legislative priorities. If we have a Republican Party, an executive committee, and a chair devoted to speaking the truth and to clearing those roadblocks and working with legislators, not for legislators, but with legislators who share our priorities to get those roadblocks cleared and get those legislative priorities over the finish line. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, with my experience, all I can tell you is what I've done. One year I was on the platform committee, and we had state reps come in and testify that never before in history has the Texas legislature ever endorsed the Republican Party platform. In fact, they thought it was silly. Why would we want to endorse it? Well, I wasn't too happy with that. So what I did is I put together a meeting in North Texas, in Arlington. I brought in members of the platform committee, state representatives, state senators. I brought in SREC members and county chairs, and we went over the platform with them and told them not only what was in the platform, but why it was in there. They didn't understand. They understood after that. Ken Paxton was one of them. He was one of the state reps. And what happened was that year they passed some of the platform. They chose the ones that we went through, the ones that they felt that they could tackle, and they worked together to get that resolved. So we can do that. It was done. I did do it. I did lead that, and I brought it together. And those legislators, once they understood it, because they don't hear, once they understood it, they went in and fought for it. And that's what we need to do. We need to teach them. We need to sit down with them and say, look, here's the platform. This is why we're doing this. Wayne Christian carried the Bill Burch Act, which was a pro-life act. That would have eliminated it. We had opposition to it, but we would have eliminated the abortion in the state of Texas had that been passed. So I worked with those, worked with many, many areas, and pro-life and many other areas. but unless they understand it, they're not going to pass it. Thank you.
So when it comes to the legislative priorities, I think I'm going to come in between the two parties. I don't think we need to work hand in hand, but I don't think we need to nuke them either. The example that I use is this. We have to be able to put pressure on our legislators like a sniper. We pick our target, we ensure we don't have collateral damage, that is even the party itself, and then we pull the trigger to make sure we get our priorities passed. Here's why we do that. The thing that motivates Texans and that motivates Republicans are the issues. And so we have to show that we can get results, and we will work on the issues that are important to Texans. That's why it's important that we have a platform. And some have suggested we shorten our platform. I'm an advocate for a longer platform that outlines the specific beliefs of the delegates, because each plank in that platform is something that Republican delegates have worked for years on to get in the platform. And so we need to continue to fight for it, and that is especially true for our legislative priorities, which address important issues. And the question we should be asking: who has been here this session working to pass legislation? I have spent the time this session fighting for your values. I have spent the session fighting for constitutional carry, for life, for election integrity, and I will continue to be a happy warrior for the Republican Party of Texas as your next chairman. Thank you.
Well, I think you can all agree we have outstanding, courageous men who are willing to serve us as the party chairman. I'm very grateful for that, and I look forward to working with one of them, and I'm hoping with the other three also remaining involved in the party. That is important. So it's my understanding we're on the order of 3, 4, 1, 2. Is that right?
We have no earthly idea.
Well, so it'll be number 3, number 4, and then 1 and 2. And it will be time for the closing remarks, which they will each have 2 minutes. And I'm hoping in part of their closing that they will tell us how, even if they don't win, how they're going to remain involved with the party.
Such is life. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you here. 46 years of involvement in the party. It will be full-time. I'm retired, and so it will be full-time with the party. I hope to be able to be your chairman and be able to develop my replacement. I don't want to be in here forever. I want to be in with my family, my grandchildren. My oldest child right now is in Dallas. She's traveling from California to Florida. Her husband retired as a commander in the United States Navy, the most decorated pilot of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. My family is very patriotic. We have fought the wars. We have been into battles, literally and figuratively. We have fought with and worked with the legislators. We know that you have 2 buckets or 2 boxes. He has buckets, I got boxes. One of those boxes contains all of the stuff that we are opposed to the governor, lieutenant governor, or the legislator with. The other is the ones that we are for. So what we do is we scream to the world about how great our governor is and our lieutenant governor. And then if we have an issue, we take him behind closed doors. And he's going to be receptive because we just complimented him. So he's going to be open and say, okay, what do we need to do? And we can work something out. And we need to lead the party, not just the SREC, but our voters. You know, I brought the Asian community into the party in North Texas. I brought the Hispanics. My wife brought the Hispanics in to meet with Steve Ministeri, first time that had ever been done, and we took them in to meet with Lieutenant Governor and go around for the issues. We took the Tea Parties from Waco North and met with them at the ballpark at Arlington so we could bring them into the party. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure seeing all of you nice folks here, and we had a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
I have been involved in the Republican Party of Texas for the last 20 years, since I was 12 years old, and I'm in this for the long haul. If I am fortunate enough to be your chair, I want to invite those who are on the stage here to join me in unifying the party and in working together with the experience that each brings to the table to continue to win for Texas. I ask you to consider the organizational age and realize that our young people have to begin to take positions. The Republican Party will die unless we let the new generation come in and begin to fight for our conservative, traditional values. I'm asking you, let us continue to grow the party. Let us take it to the next generation. Let us make sure that Texas remains free so that our children can continue to live the dream that we have been living. I want to thank Gwen for putting this on. You've done a great job. I want to thank all of our viewers who have joined us. I'm David Covey. I'm running to be your next Republican Party of Texas chairman. I really want to recognize also my lovely wife, Esther, who is sitting here in the front and who is 100% supportive as I need her to be in a job like this. She travels with me and has done just a fantastic job supporting me, and I love her to death. I look forward, if you're willing to send me and to hire me to be your chairman, to work for you. I'm here to put everything that I have in making Texas great. Thank you.
Well, I'm Chad Wilbanks, and I want to thank everybody for participating and watching. You know, I believe we can make the Texas GOP great again. Because right now, it's not meeting its potential. This is Texas. We're supposed to be exceptional. If we rest on our laurels, like we have been, we're slowly watching the Marxist Democrats creep in. You need a chairman that can come on board. In the first 10 days, it's my commitment to raise $100,000. You need a chairman that understands leadership, how to build people up, and how to grow the party. There's too much at stake right now for 2022 for us to have a chairman with a little experience, because we have the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win and grow Texas even bigger. My promise to you is this. We will work from day one as your chairman until the very end, raising money, training candidates, putting out a message, and electing candidates. As your chairman, there's going to be 2 books that guide me, because they do it on my desk right now in Austin. On the right side, I have the United States Constitution. On the left side, I have the Bible. We have all the answers we need in those 2 books in order to grow the party, pass our legislative priorities, and be victorious. You can find more information about me at Wilbanks for TexasGOP.com. Or if you're on Twitter, don't judge, at Chad Wilbanks. We're here to be better, stronger, more conservative, and most importantly, successful. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here today. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Covey family, for coming, supporting your son. Thank you for inviting me to your area of the state. And I want to thank someone who hasn't been thanked this debate that deserves to, Chairman West. I want to thank Chairman West for everything he's done for the party. I think he'll forever be remembered as the chair who showed us that there's more to do after we just raise money, manage an organization, and elect candidates. We have to be involved in actually forwarding conservative principles and bringing them through the legislature and actively doing so. So I want to thank Chairman West for his service as well. This is an important time. I mean, I think every candidate agrees on it. This is such an important time in our nation's history. We're under assault from Marxist forces like we've never seen before in our life. And we have the alternative vision, the Republican Party, especially here in Texas. I'm not from Texas originally. I was from Connecticut. And we looked to Texas. We looked to Texas for hope. So if Texas isn't Texas any longer after 2022, that doesn't only affect us. It affects everybody. Because who do they look to for hope? This is so important. It's so important we manage a strong party. We grow our party among the young and among the old as well. It's so important that we raise the money we need to win strong elections in 2022. And it's very important that we have a chair who believes that the Republican Party doesn't work for state officials and candidates for office, but works with them towards a common cause. And we need to be a separate, equal and parallel force in the state of Texas for furthering our legislative priorities, for supporting our legislative priorities, and for making sure they come under they get over the finish line. Because the stakes are just too great. We can't lose Texas. We are the hope, and we need to be. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I have no paper with me. Y'all are happy to see that. So I just want to thank those who are joining us online for being with us here tonight from Jefferson County, Texas. And I hope you have enjoyed the debate. I think you can see the SREC have a very difficult decision ahead of them. And I really ask for your prayers. We really need to pray that we all have wisdom that day to pick the correct candidate. So with that, I thank you very much.